Sadly, the summit between President Trump and the North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un has been canceled by President Trump. We're going to look at the letter that he sent to Kim Jong-un and discuss its implications and what might be the ultimate agenda here. I'm Randall Terry. This is Voice of Resistance. Many of you will remember that World War I started with the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand. He was the heir to the Austro-Hungarian Empire at that time. He was assassinated in Sarajevo, if my memory serves me correctly. But because of alliances and friendships and commitments and treaties, literally all of Europe tumbled into war and America was ultimately brought in. That war is what marked the end of the Ottoman Empire and the abolishment of the Caliphate. Sometimes because as Americans, we're so preoccupied with the me and with the now and what's happening with the price of gas and how is our pursuit of ISIS going. We have a lot on our plate. There's a lot in the news. And when I was a younger man, the Korean Peninsula was in the news quite a bit. Recently, it's been in the news again because the North Korean dictator, Kim Jong-un, is clearly in pursuit of a nuclear weapon that could reach American shores. He already has nuclear warheads. He already has nuclear weapons that could probably reach Japan. Obviously, he could reach South Korea. Now, the correlation between World War I and what's going on with North Korea is very simple. If an attack is launched against South Korea or against Japan, America is automatically at war. Just like what happened in World War I. There were dominoes that were set in motion, and there were sides that people were obligated to fight because of alliances and treaties. The United States of America will be at war if South Korea is attacked. The United States of America will be at war if Japan is attacked by North Korea. So, even though this is a distant country and not as many Americans are deployed there, and there is some sense of a calming of the relationships that are in the region, it's in some ways it's more dangerous now than it was 20 or 30 years ago. Because 20 or 30 years ago, the idea of a hot war on the Korean Peninsula meant that the North would swoop down with 1 million men, 800,000 men, 1.2 million men, no one knows for sure. They would be using conventional weapons, and they would be able to overrun the 50,000 American troops that were stationed at the 38th parallel in the demilitarized zone. There would have been an unthinkable immediate loss of life. And as horrific as that scenario was at the time, the current scenario on many levels is far worse, because North Korea clearly has nuclear weapons. President Trump has been seeking to cause, to inspire, to cajole the North Koreans into abandoning their nuclear program. And it's been really interesting. It's been an interesting few weeks to watch this. Well, this morning the president sent a letter to the North Korean dictator. I'm going to read it to you. Very interesting, very interesting. His Excellency Kim Jong-un, Chairman of the State Affairs Commission of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, Pyongyang. So this is a very respectful beginning. Dear Mr. Chairman, we greatly appreciate your time, patience, and effort with respect to our recent negotiations and discussions relative to a summit long sought by both parties, which was scheduled to take place on June 12th in Singapore. This is what some counselors call a cookie. You put something good and positive at the beginning, you have the middle, the Oreo filling, which is the negative, and then at the bottom side you have another cookie. So we'll see the bottom side of the cookie as he finishes the letter. But it was very gracious of President Trump to start out praising the dictator's patience, his time, his efforts. Let me continue. We were informed that the meeting was requested by North Korea, but that to us is totally irrelevant. I was very much looking forward to being there with you. Sadly, based on the tremendous anger and open hostility displayed in your most recent statement, I feel it is inappropriate at this time to have this long-planned meeting. So, as Kim Jong-un is perhaps brandishing his sword, deriding the United States, talking about their military capabilities, President Trump, author of The Art of the Deal, arguably one of the best, for sure one of the best negotiators on the world stage, said, we're pulling out of this meeting. I'm going to take a quick break and I'm going to read the rest of this letter and discuss what it means for us and perhaps try and see into the mind of President Trump what he's trying to accomplish. But I respect him for doing it. I respect him for doing it because at the end of the day, he's the President of the United States. He is the de facto leader of the free world. We have the largest military arsenal in the world. We spend half of the world's money. If you look at all weapons that are made and all money spent on weaponry, 50% of it is spent by the United States. All the other nations combined spend the other half. So he says something in here that's really chilling and might have jarred Kim Jong-un. We'll see. I'll be right back. Today, many so-called Christian intellectuals believe that the God of evolution used billions of years of death and destruction to evolve the bodies of the first human beings. Then, they simply declare the theory of evolution as fact to justify their unproven scientific fallacies. By the grace of God, more and more Catholics are rejecting this modern-day mythology in favor of the traditional doctrine of creation, as recorded by the Bible, and believed and taught by all the fathers and doctors of the Church. To find out how sound theology and natural science confirm the sacred history of Genesis, visit the Colby Center for the Study of Creation, and be sure to check out our bookstore, which has titles like I Have Spoken to You from Heaven, A Catholic Defense of Creation in 6 Days, and A Catholic Assessment of Evolutionary Theory. That's the Colby Center for the Study of Creation. Welcome back to the program, friend. Of course, there's a lot of speculation as to exactly why President Trump canceled this meeting. Kim Jong-un lashed out at Vice President Pence, recently calling him ignorant and stupid. Pompeo, the head of the CIA, who was in North Korea and helped secure the release of 3 American prisoners, he said that the State Department was not getting answers to questions that were necessary to have a successful summit. Now, also, interestingly, North Korea allegedly blew up 3 test sites and work areas where they developed nuclear weapons, and had journalists from other countries there, massive explosions. Some people think that these were damaged facilities and that it wasn't that much of a loss, but it was more of a gesture. Obviously, North Korea is a very closed society, and there's no such thing as a free press there. So anything that the North Korean propaganda machine wants foreign journalists to see is carefully choreographed, carefully scripted, and may be true and may be a complete falsehood. We don't know. We just don't know. Now, let me continue reading the letter from President Trump. Sadly, based upon the tremendous anger and open hostilities displayed in your most recent statement, I feel it is inappropriate at this time to have this long-planned meeting. Therefore, please let this letter serve to represent that the Singapore summit, for the good of both parties, that's the U.S. and North Korea, but to the detriment of the world, will not take place. You talk about your nuclear capabilities, but ours are so massive and powerful that I pray to God they will never have to be used. I have a master's degree in international relations degree. It's a diplomacy, international terrorism. I haven't read many items in history, correspondence between nations, that are not in an open war. Obviously, we have a ceasefire right now with North Korea, but this is really intense. Now, if you juxtapose what the president said at the beginning, your patience, your time, your efforts, negotiations, we were really looking forward to this. And then he says, ours are massive and powerful, and I pray to God they never have to be used. See, the reality is that heaven forbid that we would use nuclear weapons in a conflict with North Korea, but we would kill every leader, we would wipe out their army, we would have there would be hundreds of thousands of dead civilians. The loss of life is unthinkable. It's not 1945, okay? The weaponry that we have at our disposal are light years ahead of the bombs that were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan. So this is a very significant warning. I wouldn't say it's a threat, but it's a warning. And here's how he finished. Again, looking at the cookie. Nice words at the beginning. Wow, that's a bitter pill in the middle. Now here's the other half of the cookie. I felt a wonderful dialogue was building up between you and me. And ultimately, it is only that dialogue that matters. Someday, I look very much forward to meeting you. In the meantime, I want to thank you for the release of the hostages who are now home with their families. That was a beautiful gesture and was very much appreciated. If you change your mind having to do with this most important summit, please do not hesitate to call me or write. The world, and North Korea in particular, has lost a great opportunity for lasting peace and great prosperity and wealth. This mixed opportunity is truly a sad moment in history. Sincerely yours, Donald Trump. Boy, there's the carrot. Because North Korea has a massive workforce. I mean, South Korea is one of the most prosperous nations in the world right now, as far as per capita and standard of living. North Korea could enjoy that in time. I mean, think of East Germany and West Germany. East Germany was poverty-stricken during its Soviet occupation. When the unification of Germany happened, and the Soviet Union pulled out, now what was formerly East Germany is enjoying great prosperity and wealth and working conditions, just like their family members used to in West Germany. So it wasn't a lost opportunity. And I think that the president's putting a little carrot out there in front of him. Because I guarantee you that there were a lot of his upper staff, Kim Jong-un's upper staff, his advisors, military leaders, that were really looking forward to doing business with the West. They were really looking forward to the embargo being lifted. So this is a carrot. And it was also very gracious of the president to speak kindly of the release of the 3 American hostages. That was classy on President Trump's part. And frankly, it really was a beautiful gesture from Kim Jong-un. Now do me a favor, put up a picture of President Trump and Kim Jong-un side by side again. Now, this young man is a young man. He's in his 30s. I'm old enough to be his dad. He's a kid, all right? He's a kid. And sadly, he's been sheltered all his life. He grew up with a dictator dad and a dictator grandfather, and he has had family members killed, literally fed to dogs. Literally fed to dogs, okay? So this is an evil young man, an arrogant and pompous and foolish young man, and a young man who has a nuclear arsenal, albeit small, and albeit with not great delivery systems. It's still a nuclear arsenal, okay? So President Trump was making huge deals before this kid was born. And that's worth something. But Kim Jong-un really, he's somebody to be reckoned with by virtue of the fact of his military. It's just that simple. By virtue of the fact that he is so powerful as a dictator that he can have family members and the upper echelon of the military fed to dogs. So President Trump canceled the meeting, left the door open. Contact me if you'd like. So now, interestingly, the ball is in North Korea's court. That was a brilliant move on President Trump's part. Because if a meeting doesn't happen for 6 months or 6 years, it's because Kim Jong-un didn't ask for one. If they go forward down their path, President Trump warned him We have a massive nuclear capability, and I pray to God I don't have to use it. That sounds like a warning to me. And remember, friends, they're going to come back to Stormy Daniels. They're going to come back to the Russia investigation in the press, this useless expense of American taxpayer dollars and this ongoing effort to discredit President Trump. The media is going to come back to it. But you have to understand me. What's going on in the Korean Peninsula is way more important, because if a fighting breaks out with South Korea, or if some nuclear weapon or some missile is launched at Japan, all bets are off. All bets are off. And remember, China is an ally of North Korea. Russia is a loose ally with North Korea. But in many ways, North Korea is a puppet state of China. In many ways, not completely. So we don't want to go there. The loss of life, human life, in a conflict that would be unthinkable, and the Americans who would die. Thousands of Americans would be dead in a matter of hours, or days, for sure in days. So I'm going to take a break, come back, and look at other items in the news. Don't go away. Have Muslim terrorists hijacked the peaceful religion of Islam? Or is there more to the story? The answer lies in the life of one man, Muhammad, the founder of Islam. Muslim terrorists see themselves inside a 1,400-year-old story, a narrative that focuses on specific events in the life of Muhammad. We are going to look at Muhammad's life using their most sacred literature. We will look at Muhammad at the Battle of Badr. We'll see him deal with those who mock him. We'll see the times when he used deception. We'll witness Muhammad's anti-Semitism. And yes, we will discuss Muhammad and his teachings concerning sex, slavery, and jihad. Friend, if you want to understand Islamic terrorism, get this series today. Welcome back, friend. Nancy Pelosi was on a CNN public forum of some kind and was asked a question by one of the viewers, one of the people there, about age and re-election. And as we watch Senator McCain slowly leave this life while he's in office, was in his battle with cancer, and we're watching Nancy Pelosi, the House Minority Leader, slur and forget things and call President Trump by the name of President Bush and refer to things that are not congruous. There's clearly an open discussion that has to happen. Now, here, I remember Strom Thurmond. My memory is that Strom Thurmond served until he was 100. And he kept his wits about him right to the end. So age, you want to be an old man or an old woman and you want to hold office, have at it. And I've made very clear to people near me, we never, ever, ever, ever want to mock or make fun of somebody because of a disability or because age is setting in or Alzheimer's or dementia or just the fruits of old age. Because unless we die young, we're all headed there, okay? We're all headed there. That's just the simple reality. And the Bible says, cursed is he who puts a stumbling block in front of the blind or who curses the deaf. And we can extract from that. God doesn't like it when you tease somebody or say something inappropriate or do something that's sinister or even playful if they are someone less fortunate. If you put something in front of a blind person knowing it's going to make them trip, just for ha, God says, cursed are you. If someone is deaf in the room and you tease them or mock them knowing that they can't hear, God says, cursed are you. So I'm just never going to use this show to tease anybody in public office or in private life who is suffering the effects of age. But the voters have the right to ask the question, due to your age or some element of a sickness that has set in, are you capable of dysfunction, of discharging your duties properly? Can you do the job? And I think that there is growing concern, not just from Republicans. Listen, I don't think Nancy Pelosi can do the job. I loathe her politics. I stood in front of the Vatican holding a sign saying, excommunicate Nancy Pelosi. All right, it was on the front page of the Washington Times. I've disrupted a meeting that she was speaking in on national television, been arrested. What did we do? We had her and Harry Reid burned in effigy. We used to stand, I hope you can find these pictures. We would stand in front of Congress with one person dressed up like Nancy Pelosi and another one dressed up like Harry Reid, and have demons tormenting them because of their support of child killing, of the murder of babies. So in public policy issues, it's fair game. But teasing, mocking, no. It's her policies that I loathe. If she was a righteous woman, I'd want her in office as long as possible. Because she's an unholy, unrighteous enemy of God, I want her out as quickly as possible by the voters. All right, I've got to take a quick break. I'll be right back. Don't go away. What Would Mohammed Do? Islamic Terrorism Explained is the best movie series documentary ever produced on the life of Muhammad and Islam. How do I know? Because it's what critics are saying. John Moore, radio host and author, said, I learned more from What Would Mohammed Do about Islam and Islamic terrorism than I've learned from everything I ever read and watched in my entire life. Friends, this is what the experts are saying. No one has ever done what we've done. I encourage you to get 1, 2, 4 copies. Call 304-289-3700 or order it at the address or the website that you see on the screen. Friend, we have a series that will help you and those you love to have an impact on this country. It's called Insurrecta Nex. That's Latin for revolution against the killing of innocent people. This is the history, the philosophy, and the theology of social revolution in America. We look at the Stamp Act, the Boston Tea Party, the abolition of slavery, the abolition of child labor, women's voting rights, the civil rights movement. All of them have this in common: courage, sacrifice, dedication, and in-your-face tactics and rhetoric. That's one of the reasons that we've been losing the culture wars the last 40 years, is because the bad guys are using these tactics and we aren't. We will send you this 14-part TV series along with these manuals for students, a teacher's facilitator guide for only $40. Go to 304-289-3700, 304-289-3700. Sports news. All right, I'm not going to talk about teams. I'm going to talk about whether or not someone stands for the national anthem. The NFL has come out with regulations, with rules, which they had already and they didn't enforce. Now what they're saying is, if you are a player and you don't want to stand for the national anthem, stay in the tunnel, stay in the locker room. You may not be on the field and kneel. The end. So now we'll see who kneels. We'll see who is not on the field. We'll see who is fined or thrown out of the league if they break the rules. We'll see who is a hero. But I want to just say, because I think this is funny, the NFL leaders should have done this a long time ago. President Trump praised them for the move and then was roundly critical of the players who refused to stand. And do you remember when Obama was running and he talked about people, I think it was in Pennsylvania, who cling to their God or to their religion, to their Bible and their guns? So he was stereotyping, he was profiling. And, you know, the problem with painting with a broad brush is, you know, oftentimes you miss detail and nuances. But the truth of the matter is, a lot of times a broad brush is appropriate. And you can look at a group of people, NASCAR people, and know that they're going to be predominantly middle class, they're going to be predominantly white, they're going to be predominantly male, they're going to be oftentimes Christian, all right? And if you look at some really intense rap music and rap artists, they're going to be predominantly African American, and they're going to be predominantly male, and they're going to be in the age group of 15 to 35. I mean, these are just stats, all right? Nothing racist about it. They're just stats. Well, the NFL needs to look at the stats. I did not watch one entire game last year except for the Super Bowl. Why? Because of this nonsense of people kneeling. I've had it. And these fools who sit in their ivory towers and don't know who their clients are, who their purchasers are, who their customers are, they're silly. They're foolish. Oh, I'm out of time. We'll revisit this another time. God bless you.